You know we're gonna dream, life will be a dream, sweetheart. Ah, yeah, ah. Another one of those songs. So I'm in Croatia right now, and I was hoping I could turn the camera around and show you how misty it is, but I can't. So I'll just turn it around physically. This rings a bell. Yes, so this discussion today with myself and a camera, and potentially just myself if it gets deleted somehow and I don't get to upload it, is what happens quite a lot. Or I never end up uploading and it just stays on my phone. It's about consciousness, and it's about something I came up with 2 years ago when I was in a ceremony where I came to the conclusion in myself, and I haven't got any evidence for it, that consciousness came first before everything. And I've just seen something that extends that theory. Damn, I should have gone to that gas station. That extends that theory, and basically it talks about organization of matter. A friend of mine just sent it to me, and I'm like, this guy made a statement where he says consciousness came first, and he talked about organization of matter. Well, I had come up with a thing back then where I said consciousness came first before matter, but his theory, this guy's like it sounds like a German or Austrian scientist or something, or somewhere in Europe, where he's talking about that we are an evolving, and all, let's say our brain is an evolving ecosystem. And it kind of filled in a blank of what I was thinking of. So imagine life, imagine an alien called God that is life, and it's a life form, but it doesn't exist in the physical plane. And then it invents through mathematics, theoretical physics, it applies it somehow beyond our ken, which we can't, we're just not intelligent enough to figure out how it does so. It's something I may have mentioned in previous videos, where imagine you were a ghost in the machine, an AI, and you had limitless compute power, and you had limitless capacity for storage, and limitless access to random memory, so you could run thoughts here and there, and you could also malform and edit your own code, so you could become effectively more intelligent. Can I just overtake, dude? So guy on a motorbike. So barreling through the fog. It's a really thick fog. Anyway, so you could edit your own code. You could effectively become something that could make yourself more and more intelligent. Start, let's say, at a 200 IQ, and before you know it, before lunchtime, your IQ is 6,000. At what stage would you get to before that ghost in the machine that you are, let's call it the Holy Ghost, could manifest matter from nothing? So it's in a void, the void being space. Let's say space where in outer space, undefined areas where light and particles haven't touched yet. So the edge of the universe that the universe is going to expand into. Of course, the area that it's expanding into, that horizon, whether you could imagine 10 kilometers beyond it or exactly on the boundary, is the same undefined space. This is where a theory I had years ago, where we could probably travel through that undefined space to get to other points in the perimeter of where the limits of the universe are, if that makes any sense. So anyway, in that void of nothing, imagine that's all there was. So assuming that is all there was at one stage, and we had consciousness already, and consciousness was God, a self-aware thing that only existed in a non-physical realm of sorts that we still can't explain, and scientists have only really just starting to look into this stuff properly. So we haven't got a history of even trying to explain this really, except for some fringe people here and there, generally not backed by big institutions or anything, right? So that thing comes up with a way to separate the boundary of nothing into positive and negative. And that positive and negative are matter and antimatter, which can cancel each other out and resume that nothingness state, right? So it creates it, and that's stage one, creation of matter and antimatter, assuming antimatter does exist, which I'm sure it must, but I don't know because I haven't seen it. Anyway, then the next phase is how do we organize that matter into things, and that's your covalent bonds, your atomic structure, whether it's a carbon molecule or a silicon molecule. So then from there we have the building blocks of different forms of matter. And then of course then the progressions are, how do you structure that instead of just being floating dust, or how do we structure it into something, and then how do we further structure it into something that takes a physical form, and then that physical form to be a genetic life form. So these are the the different phases of evolution of matter, never mind life. So life is just that point at where we're at now for physical matter. And of course most of us, including myself originally, were thinking, oh, we came from first of all there was dust, and then something just popped up magically, and it was single cell organisms, amoebas and stuff like that, and plankton and stuff, and then we evolved from that. And people say, well, the creationists say, oh, it was God that came up with that in the background. So maybe they are actually right. It's just been explained very badly, and it makes them look like they're Muppets. Or they're right for the wrong reasons. Anyway, and what was actually happening in the background was this God force, this creationism that was actually taking place. And maybe both things are true. Maybe there was evolution, but that evolution just isn't what we thought it was. It was a guiding hand of evolution that gave us consciousness. And effectively what may have happened is we could have just been a bunch of creatures that actually weren't sentient. And then after a while, this God head thing decided to inject the essence of life or consciousness, the connection of that non-physical world between this new life form that it had created, that had before that just being a dumb life form, like a mollusk or like a snake, like a snail, like a crab. And then even then, early life might have been, right, let's try take this crab, and let's try take this monkey and this cat and put in a level of consciousness into them, because I do believe that a lot of animals have a consciousness. They are self-aware. I think anything that feels fear for its existence, I think is conscious, or else it wouldn't have any fear for its non-existence. And all we are is more advanced versions of it, increasingly more, like when dolphins and things like that. So, and as even some species of fish are smarter than other species of fish. I don't think that necessarily comes from the fact that we evolved with bigger brains. I think it's the fact that the intelligence of the universe, which is consciousness, was able to modify species to make them have larger brains, to containerize the level of the bridge between this physical being and consciousness could be wider. In other words, let's say all of the memories we ever have remain in the Akashic record. It allows us to access more of the Akashic record. It allows us to have a larger bandwidth between this physical form. So instead of a cat sending memories of what it saw around the neighborhood to the Akashic record in black and white, potentially, or in limited color, we're doing it in a higher bandwidth. But maybe the cat's sending more smells of environment, because that's something that human beings aren't doing. We're sending smells, but not very much of them. We're sending sounds, but not a full spectrum of sound. We're not just sending our sights, our touches, our experiences in that respect. We're sending 6 different senses of data back to the Akashic record. So there's perhaps other species that are doing a higher bandwidth in other senses than us, or we know they are, because they've got a bit better sense of smell or a better sense of hearing than us, right? So as it evolves, maybe we're supposed to actually assist evolution to get to species that are better and better and better, and not be so precious about holding on to what human beings are, because whatever comes after it, if it is an improved version of us, well, what are we holding on to? We're holding on to something that's not as good. And it doesn't mean that just because this new thing comes along that humans are going to be... I know I'm making an argument here for transhumanism, but really I'm not. I'm making an argument here for continued assisted evolution, and I've done this for many years actually. When the first talks about AI were really becoming popular in the 2000s, in the early 2000s, I was talking about this being something where we could potentially, instead of creating AI, do DNA research to create smarter species, to make ourselves more intelligent. And then when you bring up a child that has got like 200 IQ, you say, right, look, if you choose it, we would like you to work on this to become a scientist and to create an even better version of yourself, and then just keep doing that, and eventually mankind could become some kind of 7,000 IQ species that then solves all the conundrum and works out whether space is even a worthwhile venture to go out to space, or if there's actually more in inner space, inside, or in the ether, or in the spirit realm, if that is really where the universe is. Because we are actually a clueless species at the moment. We're just kind of fumbling around in the dark. So I really like what I'm going to include the video when I upload this, and I really like that that it fills in the gap there of what my theory was about, and I'm sure others, and I'm sure it's not my theory, I'm sure others have the same. I just never heard it before. Something that happened to me on ayahuasca. They're just kind of, it was kind of like an installed thought, and by the way, that installed thought started making me think about something that I was always quite vehemently against, and I'm still quite against the fact that we don't have any free will. I'm not going to say I'm never going to go around to that other way of thinking, but I do think there could be, you know, something to it, that your thoughts are not your own. We have access to thoughts that have been thought before, and they get regurgitated. And even if that's not true, I still am of the belief that we should share our thoughts, and we shouldn't try to patent thoughts. I think that just like our matter belongs to the earth, not us, and that matter gets renewed as our body takes in new cells, the old ones die off. I think that our thoughts, even if they are our own, we belong to everything, to creation, you know what I mean? So we should be sharing our thoughts more, and I think mankind and life in general would be a lot further along if we did do more of that. And I know it sounds communist, but there are aspects of capitalism, even though I'm a capitalist myself, that I know are just so short-sighted and petty and pathetic. We're sitting there holding on to something so hard till our knuckles turn white. We don't want to give anything up. And I see it a lot in this world, where people, well, I've done it myself, where we hold on so hard to things, and it's like the giant money scramble. We're trying to dash for we're trying to hold on to this and that, and we actually forget, oh, there's a whole bunch of money on the floor there. Or that we're chasing something so much that we let go of what we have as well, equally. There's two sides to it. And we need to get a little bit more balance of don't be so precious, but also don't disrespect what there is, and respect that there is that you have a house or a little bit of money or whatever it is. Don't just fritter things away, but at the same time, don't put so much onus on any one thing that it means more than your life or as much as your life, because it doesn't. Anyway, I like that theory that we are an ongoing evolution, because it fits into not only what I came up with 2 years ago, but also what I've believed when I was a young man, when I was like in my late teens to 20s, where I was talking about this human-assisted evolution. I think it all ties together and actually is very complementary theories. And yeah, so I thought, let's record this. Anyway, Donje Desinec. Some beautiful areas around here, so I'm thinking now of moving to Croatia. I've been having lots of thoughts about moving to Italy as well, Italy or Croatia, because I've done Slovenia. I like it. I feel at home in Slovenia. I'm on my way there now, actually, and I'm going to be probably staying there around Christmas time. But even though this country hasn't got the tax laws that suit me, I'm not really living in it. I just want to get a place here so I can spend a few months a year. And I think this part near where my friend lives, near Karlovac, or Karlovac. I can't remember the name of the city that's near him. I think that's what it's, Karlovac. There's a beer called Karlovacko from near there. You bastard! Those are Slovenian prices. Damn it! I'm getting near Slovenia and the prices are changing in the gas, because I noticed it's about 10 cents, 10-15 cents cheaper. Look at the sun up there, try to poke through the clouds. Hazy, it's still about what, 10:30, and it's still heaps of haze. So yeah, I'm really enjoying thinking about this kind of stuff. It's good for the brain, I think. Because I think we need to start moving on from this petty bullshit. We'll never move past this boom-bust cycle of economics, which is driven by a explosion of hate and suffering between times of peace. We'll never break through these very primitive cycles that we're going through until we start to think bigger. And I think that we're not going to ever get the dummies into thinking like us. So the only thing to do is to splinter off, as I've said many times before, splinter off into separate societies and work on different stuff, and then eclipse these morons, and don't even try to take them over. Just separate from them and just say, hey, do you want to join us? Do you want to stay in retard camp, or do you want to join us, human beings who are doing something better? We're going to be psychonauts, astronauts, whatever the hell other knots there possibly is, spiritual knots, whatever. But people who are thinking more longer term, and that longer term being, let's start with the premise that we are eternal life forms. Cool. What are we going to do? You can just escape this reality by Epsteining yourself, or you can try to do something cool while you're here before your brain gets reset into a new life form that may not be on this planet, or might be a dog, or if you believe it, that you just won't respawn at all. So you might as well do something cool towards advancement of non-lasting life or everlasting life. You might as well do something better than fighting stupid skirmishes over pieces of land or over ideologies. especially when those ideologies are, let's stop any other ideology being allowed to be listened to because ours is right, and we're so sure of that that we're scared to hear anything else. Okay, bye.